Hello.
Wow.
Woo.
Gavin,
Joe.
new record next week.
Yes.
Tour has just started.
Yes, tour's just started.
And we were talking a little backstage. You recorded this one mostly all out in Los Angeles?
Mostly in Los Angeles. Yeah, I mean, we did a little bit of recording in Miami, a little bit in New York, maybe a little bit in Nashville even, but fundamentally almost everything was done in Los Angeles. Yeah,
And
yeah,
you know,
exactly.
so much more. I mean, as studios shut down in New York more and more.
Oh yeah.
I talked to so many people who are moving out to LA to write, moving out to LA to record.
Yes, yes. It's one of the things that's been the biggest disappointment for me musically has been to see so much of the recording industry and so much of the musical community leaving Manhattan, you know, and leaving the New York area to go other places. It's the one thing I think that New York should try to fix, because the thing that
It's not the only thing we should try to fix, dude.
Yeah.
We got a lot to do, but
yeah, there's more to do, but you know, I mean, the thing that drew me to New York City initially was the tremendous amount of opportunity. I think a lot of us in this room probably came to New York for an opportunity of some kind, even if it wasn't with music. It could be in so many different industries. I was drawn to the artist community in New York City, you know, but so much of it has certainly left the island of Manhattan.
Well, I mean, so many
it's a
people
shame.
come here for the energy. For the
Yes.
history, for the opportunity.
Yes.
You
yes.
moved here late 90s, is that right?
That's right. I came here in the late 90s. My brother and I took an apartment in Hell's Kitchen when it still felt like Hell's Kitchen.
That's right.
Yeah. It wasn't real cool back then. You know, there weren't a bunch of, you know, beautiful restaurants. It was
If you were thanking God it was Friday in Hell's Kitchen, it's because you made it through the week, not because you were...
Yeah, exactly.
Friday.
exactly. And yeah, I mean, I used to spend a lot of time in bar rooms in Hell's Kitchen during that time. And I recently went back to one of the bar rooms I used to hang out at, and they had it's still dirtier, you know. It's still one of the dirtier places, you know. It's like the booths are still made out of red duct tape, but now the lights work. And I thought it was a little bit uncomfortable when I got in there and I could see people. You know, it used to be just very, 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 very dark, and that's kind of one of the things I loved about being in New York City. There was this fringe element about being here and being in those bar scenes, and there was something that was just a little bit edgier, a little bit scarier, and that's kind of, not to say like I did it for the horror show element of it, but there was something very fringe about it that was drawing me to this scene. You know, I enjoyed that about it. It was you felt very anonymous when you were out at a bar room. There was nobody taking pictures of anybody. It was more like, don't tell anybody that we're in here doing this. You know what I mean? And that was kind of the overall feeling. That's what made it exciting.
What were you doing when you first? You'd gone to Berklee School of Music, and then you moved here. And I remember reading an interview with you where you talked about how you used to sneak your guitar into some job you had to write songs.
Yeah, you're right.
What was that job?
Wow. Okay. So my dad, a friend of his he grew up with, owned a magazine stand, right? Magazines, cigarettes, this type of thing at a hotel called the Paramount Hotel over on 46th Street, right?
Yeah.
You know the place?
It's kind of adjacent to Hell's Kitchen there. And
exactly. 8th Avenue, 46 is the Ian Schrager Hotel. It looked cool. And he gave us a job at the kiosk, right? Selling magazines and cigarettes, which is great if you're a smoker, you know? So they're like, yeah, I'll work at your cigarette shop. I'll sell all these things for you, right? And he didn't watch the business too carefully, so I would sneak a guitar into work, right? And I'd sit in the back and try to learn songs and write songs, like really bad guitar playing, but I was learning, you know, And people would walk up to the counter, but they couldn't see me. And I'd hear people say things like, hey, excuse me, hello, I'd like to buy this Architectural Digest. And I'd be in the back, and I'd just be like, just take it. Have a great day. a terrible employee. Terrible.
You were learning guitar then? Did you grow up playing piano but not guitar?
Exactly. I'd grown up playing the piano, and I couldn't obviously bring a piano into work. So I would just bring this old, this beat up, crappy acoustic that always used to be in our house growing up, and nobody was playing it anymore. So I said, hey, you mind if I take this from the house? And my dad was like, take that piece of crap out of here. Yeah. I said, okay,
Wow.
And I remember I wrote a birthday song on it. It wasn't anybody's birthday. I just thought, let me write a birthday song.
Well,
why not?
It worked for the guy who wrote Happy Birthday. That
exactly. He's doing well. Well, he's not doing well anymore, but he did well for a little while.
The Paramount was kind of a hipster hotel then. Were there any musicians passing through?
There were a lot of musicians passing through. Actually, I would say the standout ingredient of working at the Paramount at the time was the uniform. The uniform was like gray, like almost like a cool-looking gray slack and a gray T-shirt and a gray jacket. And I think the biggest perk for me was that was the nicest outfit I owned, was the uniform that they gave me to wear to work. So I'd wear it out to the bar. I'd I'd wear it out to the coffee shop. Literally, it was the best looking thing I had.
Your work duds were kind of your flossy going out costume.
It was literally the nicest looking outfit I had was the one that they gave me for work.
Well, let's jump forward. It's been actually 3 years between records?
Yeah, about 3 years, yeah.
What have you been doing?
Almost. I've been writing. I've written a lot of songs since the last release. Not all good songs. Which is why I did a lot of co-writing on the record. A couple of songs I wrote alone. I felt like they were strong enough. I thought they were the right songs to release. But I also felt that as a writer, I could have used the extra energy and the extra influence and diversification that other writers could bring to the table, And sometimes even when you're writing with somebody, even if they're not necessarily bringing you a lot of ideas, just having them there to tell you, hey, man, that last idea really sucked. Keep trying. You know what I mean? And if they go, hey, try something like this, what if you did this right here, that right there? Those types of interactions with another writer really help.
How's co-writing work for you? You'd moved down to Nashville a few years ago, where writing is, it's almost for a lot of people, it's a punch the clock business. You show up,
correct.
You go in a room for your co-write, you leave it, you leave for your hot chicken in the middle of the day.
So you've been to Nashville?
Yeah.
It's true. The scene is it's different. There's a lot of great talent in Nashville. That's one of the things that attracted me to that city. My brother Joey and I, we moved there about 5 or 6 years ago. We started looking into being there. We opened up a bar business there and bought a place to live. And we were attracted to the amount of talent that was living there. Nashville's still affordable enough that there's a lot of artists living there, and there's a lot of session players that live there. There's a lot of people a lot of barroom type musicians who are living there.
And when we talk about people leaving New York, a lot of them are moving to Nashville.
Exactly.
A lot of them are moving to Los Angeles.
A lot of them are moving to Austin, Texas. Right. Exactly. There's a lot of towns that are kind of capitalizing on the emigration of the artist community, because they're kind of hooking them up, So when we got there, we were, wow, so many good musicians here. We couldn't wait to go out to the bar rooms because there were so many good live acts. Because even on my time off, I still love music. Yes, it's my career, but it's also my hobby, and finding talent playing somewhere is a very exciting thing when you're a musician. You're like, oh my God, that guy's amazing. Why are you here? That conversation. They have a million times. So spending time there and being around all of that creativity, I think, is really, really helpful for guys like me. Just because my career is at a different stage now than it was when I was playing, on Bleecker Street, or playing at, CB's Gallery, or, the living room, or, Slipper Room or B3, places in the East Village that probably aren't even there anymore, honestly.
None of those places are there anymore.
None of them, right?
That's correct, yeah.
It's true. And like these were some of these places they were just the kind of place where they had so much history. You were just so happy to walk into it. I remember playing in these clubs with guys who we'd go into the place, we'd go down to the basement, someone would plug in a couple of instruments, and by the time we'd leave, the sun was out. You know what I mean? And I'm like, yeah, man, see you tomorrow. Yeah. And there was an element of that it was very, very exciting, and you felt you were part of this underground scene, and you really were part of an underground scene. It's very, very cool. So I guess I travel around kind of looking for that now. I'm hoping I'm going to stumble into that great place locally when I'm traveling where they go, hey, man, welcome to such and such a town. We're taking you to this place because it's where all the best players hang out, and we'll be there all night,
So I know on this record you worked with Butch Walker, who you've worked with before.
I love Butch Walker. He's one of my favorite people in the world.
And who else were you collaborating with?
Well, Butch, Johan Carlson, Sean Douglas. Who am I leaving out? I'm leaving out a few.
But you
Max
and Butch,
Martin actually came in to a session a few times and sat in with us when I was working with Johan, because Johan's part of Max's camp.
right?
And Max is one of those guys who, when you're sitting around writing something.
And this is Max Martin, biggest pop producer in the world.
Literally the biggest pop producer, the biggest
Backstreet
pop
Boys, Britney
producer,
Spears.
biggest writer.
Right.
Taylor Swift.
Gavin DeGraw.
The Weeknd. Yeah. And he walks into the studio, and he'd be like, hey, play it for me. And you're like, I'm not playing it for you. And then Johan would be like, come on, Gavin, it's great, man. Play it for him, man. I'd be like, no, man. Max, man. I'm not playing for Max, man. He'd be like, come on, I want to hear what you're working on, And we'll play it, and he'll go like this. And he's listening, right? And you're watching him while he's listening, And it's heavily affecting you. And so, literally, you get to the first chorus, and he'll be like, huh? Wait, can I say something? And I'll be like, oh, man, damn, man. I'll be like, Johan, man, I told you we shouldn't have played it for him. He's like, no, wait, just wait. He goes, okay, right there. Go back for a minute. And you go back, 10 seconds, 15 seconds. He'd be like, play the chorus again. I'm like, okay. He'd be like, oh, okay, right there. Too many words. And I'll be, how many too many? He'd be like, too many. I'd be like, well, how would you improve it? He'd say, I would just go like this and then do this. And you go, that won't work. And then you try it. And you'd be like, damn him, Damn it, man. You know what I mean? Like, why are you so good at that? And he has this amazing ability to find the parts that are the most effective and the most efficient and that make you want to sing along, right?
Well, I mean,
and it's a taste thing. It's sort of like, he kung fu'd me, man. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
So the first two singles are "She Sets the City on Fire."
Yes.
And
now that one I wrote with. Thank you. I wrote that with a friend of mine here named Greg Wattenberg. It was actually a New York guy.
That's right.
And that was the New York touch.
And then we've got "Making Love with the Radio On."
Yes.
And I've been listening to advance of the record, and I wrote down a few song titles. "She Sets the City on Fire."
Yes.
"You Make My Heart Sing Louder."
Yes.
"Making Love with the Radio On."
There's a lot of sex here.
"How Lucky Can a Man Get?" and "New Love." So, dude, what's going on with you?
Well, I like happy music,
Okay.
And, it's part of me. I don't know, next phase, next phase. More, I think, focusing on the good things. Do you know? I know some people, they like to make music that is strictly sexy. Some people like to make stuff that sounds a little bit more aggressive. I like pretty music. And I like music that makes people feel uplifted and empowered. And I think that people need to feel empowered. And I think that love makes people feel empowered. So for the most part, that's the type of thing that I enjoy writing about. I enjoy writing about something that makes people feel like things are going their way rather than things being in their way.
All right. It was worth applauding, wasn't it?
Thank you.
We got some questions from the audience.
Thank you. I didn't know how that was
right in the front.
out.
Hi, Gavin.
Hello. I like
I'm
your
so
hat.
excited. Thank you. I'm so excited for the new album, and I'm going to see
you
you in
very much.
October for the first time. So I'm excited to see you.
Oh, great. Thank you. for
But
that.
my question was, out of all the songs on this new album, what was the hardest that you worked on? Like, which one is your baby?
Which one is my baby? Ooh. Thank you for the compliments. And let me see. I know it's tough to say when people say, oh, well, I can't pick a favorite. I can't pick a favorite. I really cannot pick a favorite. But I will say the one that probably took the most time to complete was one I wrote with a guy named Ricky Reed, who I should have mentioned. Ricky, he goes by the name Wallpaper. He executive produced Meghan Trainor's record. He's a super talent. He has great taste. And we wrote a song that, in the studio, we called it Wailing Wall. But on the record, it's called You Make My Heart Sing Louder. That's my mom's favorite song. And that's one of those songs that really does feel empowering. So I would say that song, even though we chased it for a long time, it really took a lot of back and forth, a lot of phone calls, a lot of studio time, and a lot of nitpicking. I'm a nitpicker. Big time. That by the time we finally nailed it, which was on the last day, the absolute cutoff date of having everything done and ready to mix, I literally called him up. I said, I just want to tell you how proud I am of our song. This is a very special song to me. And he said, it's a masterpiece. And I said, thank you, man. I'm feeling like we hit the nail on the head, and it's something I'm very, very, very proud of. And so I would say that one was the one that it took the most time, but it came the longest way at the same time. You know what I mean? Thanks for your question.
Hey, Gavin.
Hello.
Such a huge fan.
Thank you,
Can't
man.
wait for the new album.
Thank you very much.
So with the music industry constantly changing, do
Yes.
you feel like your type of music or your songwriting has changed along with it?
Good question. Thank you. I think that the landscape for every business is always changing, period. Especially the arts. And I think that that's part of what makes the arts exciting in general, If something is going from it being, the painting world to the photography world or sculpture or whatever, there's phases of things, right? And then within each of those phases, there's phases, right? Same thing with fashion. There's per season, there's fashion. Those fashion changes happen very rapidly, right? Per season. And I look at music in a similar way, not to trivialize it, but I look at it in a similar way to the fashion world, right? It has to be timely. There's certain songs, they sound like if you release them, that they'd be absolutely amazing to hear in late October, right? You say, wow, sounds like a cold record, and it's just the right amount of morose, or it's just the right amount of this or that. Same thing when you hear a summer record. There's certain songs that you want to put the window down and drive, right? In the heat, or put the top down in the car, or go for a motorcycle run. But those sound like the summertime, right? So I think that there's certain seasons that you have to stay aware of as a songwriter, and at the same time, certain eras of songwriting and certain production styles of songwriting. One day I was listening to a batch of songs, and I was thinking to myself as I was listening to the songs, sometimes I'm not sure if I love the song or if I love the production of the song, right? So think about all the records you love to listen to. Think about the choruses you sing, or think about why you love an artist. Sometimes when you're listening to that artist, you may not even think that the song is that great, but you love the feel of the song. You love the drum beat. Maybe the lyric is terrible. Maybe the singer's not that good, but you like the sound of the mic. There's certain things that I listen to now that maybe I'm a little bit too close to the way that things are made because I know how they're made, that I know specifically what I'm listening to. So then when I'm writing songs, sometimes I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to be able to get away with one thing because I know how much better it's going to be if I do this to it in the studio, right? And vice versa. So when you're making a record for right now, when it came out to She Sets the City on Fire, I knew when I heard a piece of it, oh, wow, this is so timely. This feels like right now. It feels like if we don't get it out right now, I'm going to miss the window of when this song should exist at all, right? And then there's other songs you think, this other one, I think next year is the time for this other song. For whatever reason, you're trying to sort of predict the curve, right? And you want to meet it, right? It's almost like swinging the bat, right? You don't swing the bat based on where the ball is. You swing the bat based on where you think the ball is going to be, right? So that's what happens when I'm making an album, when I'm recording a song, when I'm writing a song, when we're producing a song.
We got time for one more question.
We could have done more questions, but I talk a lot. Yeah.
What is it like having one of your songs as the theme song of a TV show?
That's a good question. Good question. Thank you. All right, so it's interesting. So here's where it gets tricky for me. I always have I'm a babbler. Sorry, I babble. So when I was first approached to have my song on a TV show, I was very concerned. It was so far removed from my day-to-day life. At the time that happened, I was living in the East Village. I was in basically Alphabet City. And I was, toting around my acoustic guitar on my shoulder, sitting in the park, writing songs and stuff like this. It was very peculiar how I lived, compared to a normal lifestyle, I got this phone call. A guy said, "Hey, I love your songs. I want to use your song for TV show." I said, "For what kind of TV show? Who are you?" And he said, "It's for a sort of a coming-of-age, like, teen show." I said, no way. And he said, "Listen, you have to help me help you. What movie do you love if you could name a movie?" I said, "The Outsiders." He said, "Perfect. This is he said, "Perfect. Well, this is a coming-of-age type thing. This is about identity. And this is a cleaned up, more clean version of The Outsiders turned into a TV show." I said, "But I'm just so concerned that I'll be associated with that kind of marketing, it'll lighten my association, my vibe, my thing. I'm an artist. I live in the East Village, you know what I mean? And you're so consumed with it, right? So, you're so self-conscious as an artist. I think that's the one thing that I've learned probably more than anything else is how ego-based your life is, and it's a little bit shameful, honestly. You're so self-conscious. But I said, I'm thinking about this too much. At the same time I was talking myself out of something, I talked myself right back into it because I caught myself. I said, even though if it's not the same type of thing that I would watch on TV, people who act like I act wouldn't even know I was on the show. And I said, I don't know what I'm doing right now, but I'm babbling. And he said, like I said, you need to help me help you because you don't know what you're talking about. And I said, perhaps you're right. Can you help me? He said, just let me use your damn song. And it's going to be great. The show is great. We have a great cast. We have a great writer. And it turned out being the best the first best decision that I had made for my career was permitting myself to let my ego take a back seat and to let the song out into the universe and let it do what it was going to do, you know, and allow people to help me do that. Because at the same time I was hoping for success, I was fearing the success at the same time. It's a very peculiar situation to be in, and I'm happy I was in it. You know what I mean? I got very lucky.
We're going to take a break here so you can set up and let a few more songs out into the universe and play
Yes,
some
please.
music for
Thank
us.
you, Joe.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys very much.